Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 15 of Apex Online Racing League, season 15 actually, no sorry, season 14, round 15 here for the Malaysian Grand Prix. And I did get a couple of questions what happened to Singapore last week. Unfortunately that race is having to be reran because Xbox Live decided it would have an absolute nightmare. So did F1 last week, and as you probably read by the title, it appears that this week not too much has changed unfortunately. There will be sort of a lot of footage over the course of the evening of this game and Xbox Live just absolutely breaking. Now I was sort of expecting this evening, as unfortunately I tried to do a league race earlier on in the day, and over the course of about the first half a lap I had about 5 screen freezes and found myself half a minute back from the race leader, which was really frustrating here. But now on towards my second qualifying run here, you can see actually a few tenths up in the first sector, and coming through the S section of this fast lap here, Die-Hard fan completely parked in the middle of the road there. No idea what he was doing there. That was really frustrating there to see him already. Yeah, you know, just talking to him, wondering what the hell he was doing there. But from Die Hard's point of view, he was near enough at the hairpin. So, yeah, that was not really the ideal way to start the evening with Die Hard that was clearly nowhere near anyone else on the circuit there. I actually could find out later on because he'd set a lap time and for me he was still about 3 corners away. So very frustrating there. But we'll have to gloss over that. We do start right at the very back of the field, ready for the start of the Grand Prix. You can see by the end of the session, if I'm not mistaken, we were P12? Yeah, P12 just ahead of Xfitcho Bobbits, who unfortunately did not make a lap in qualifying. But you know, all loss can be made up in the Grand Prix here. Really looking forward to this, but it is dry tyres, wet track it appears, but that was alright for me. I was fully aware, you know, the harder the compound you go, the better the tyre wear. The better the pace actually, so if I was going to go on the mediums, try and absolutely drag them as far as possible to sort of lap 15, lap 16 there, and probably move on to either a set of the ultras or a set of the soft tyres. You know, potentially the track could get even wetter, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, not exactly the ideal way to move on into this race. Remember, we've still got a basically disconnected Die Hard to try and contend with us. He's starting right alongside me, ready for the start of this Grand Prix. But here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Malaysian GP. Really, you know, pace around here was actually looking alright, as some of you may have seen from the F2 race I did last night. If you want to leave that, if you want to see that, there will be, if you click on the little eye up the top right hand side of your screen, so you can go see that video as well. But yeah, that pace overall was quite good in that race, so really hoping we can have a repeat of that tonight. But here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Malaysian Grand Prix. 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here for round 15 of the season, and it's lights out. And away we go. And overall, actually, after a pretty good initial launch there on these harder tyres, we're actually going to be able to get quite a good bit of grip there. Die Hard fantasy already disconnected there as we go 4 wide. Unfortunately, I get caught up behind Ellis there. But down in towards T1 here, hoping we can try and find some clean space there. Ellis tries to go, you know, very aggressive on the cars ahead of him there. We get squeezed out over the curbs through turn 1 there. Fly to the back end as much as we possibly can there. And unfortunately, well, we've been tagged by Die Hard's disconnected car. He's up at about P12 at this rate. You know, he's already, sorry, about P9 even at this rate. He's, you know, happy as can be on his screen. And yeah, we've just been completely taken out by him. And unfortunately, you know, I can understand it. You know, I can sort of get over it if it was only me that was ruined by this. But Sam F1 LFC was also taken out by Die Hard's car, as well as my teammate at EVR CJ is, unfortunately. And I think we also have one more driver actually that was royally screwed by it as well over there. But credits to Die Hard, you know, nothing really he could do about that. Not really going to, you know, be angry with him about it. Overall, he did actually leave the session very soon afterwards, which, you know, was very gracious from him. So I can only thank him for that one. But yeah, just so frustrating here, especially, you know, this game. Obviously, Die Hard's connection generally over the course of the season has usually been fine. So I really don't know what is going on there. Herschel, as I said, yeah, he got completely screwed by it as well, unfortunately, which does mean I'm up all the way into the points on the opening lap of this race here, which overall, considering I was starting P12, and I've also been taken out there. We have moved up the order there. CJ rage quitting, well, I say rage quitting, leaving the race because there was no real hope for him. He had no front wing, he was miles back from the rest of the field there. Die Hard fan, as I said as well, retiring from the race. So yeah, really not the start I think anyone would have wanted there, unfortunately. Yeah, 3 of us really, oh sorry, 4 of us even, really pulling the short straw there. A quarter of the field, sorry, a third of the field ruined by that incident on lap 1 here. One driver also dived it into the pits, but P&R Brown leads after the first lap of the Grand Prix here. See, I think it was, yeah, Xfitcho Bobbits actually dives it in, so maybe he was even caught out by it as well, so we could have even had near enough half the field involved in that one. But yeah, hopefully we now can try and focus on the rest of the race here. Sam's only a couple of seconds up the road, so if we can try and close back up on him and then close it to the cars ahead of him, get back on that train. And this harder compounded tyres, as I expected, was actually working out quite nicely in the early stages of this race. You can see coming through turn 3 and turn 4. You know, the grip, it's a bit odd, but it's sort of understandable. You know, the harder the compounded tyres, the less heat they really need in them, which means they can actually rubber up quite nicely on these sort of semi-wet tracks here. Not really too worried about that at the moment. You can see actually, you know, we've got quite a bit of flexibility in the car here, but this is where the evening decides to get even more broken. Unfortunately, Sam is our usual host in these races, and he's now been kicked off the race, which means we've now got a new host. I don't even know who that is. It might even be me, for all I know there. But yeah, poor old Sam has now been booted out of the game. As you can see as well, if you have a look in the top left-hand side of your screens, no one's now got a name either. So this is, you know, usually actually a spectator bug from what I've gathered. But yeah, unfortunately, that as well really was not exactly the ideal way to continue on with this evening there. So now, although I originally at this point thought I'd been disconnected from the game, it actually, everyone else was running completely fine, even though they were showing up as AI cars as such, even though they were still driving exactly how they would be. So at this point I was really thinking about just, you know, quitting the race. I thought I'd basically disconnected as well. I didn't want to cause anyone else any issues here, but by lap 7 I sort of clocked on that people were actually still in the race. I was still racing human people, albeit they're now all called Sam, according to the game, which is a little bit odd. I know he hasn't had a teammate all season long, but I think hiring out everyone in the race to be his teammate is a little bit unfair. Might go against some sort of rules in the FIA, but yeah, around the outside of what I'm pretty certain is Midget there, actually, as we run very deep through the final corner there, but we are going to be able to therefore get the switchback move on him nice and early on the power out of the corner there, with the DRS as well, so clearly the game, yeah, agreeing that it's not wet enough to disable the DRS, which means we will have to make a pit stop there. Midget squeezing me right up to the wall, you know, Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber-esque there from Malaysia 2013, but he runs deep through turn 1 there. We're just going to try and slot the car just in front of him there, park it through turn 2. You can see it was right all over my gearbox there, so we just had to make sure we clip the apex nice and tidy there. And now we move up into P6 of the Grand Prix there. Obviously, a few people now start to make pit stops as well, and 1 lap later we moved up another place there as one of the Renaults has pitman. Now down the inside of what I think is LGS there, making it a bit difficult for him. I'm just going to try and sit on the apex through the double right-hander there. And we now give him the room on the outside, but we move up into P4 of this race. So actually the pace looking very strong in the early stages here. And next up, well, we're against the other Renault. Unfortunately, Renault seems to be the only team that really has 2 consistent drivers that are sort of around each other's pace every week, so I wasn't too sure which was which at this moment in time. But everyone else has now pitted bar me and, well, Sam F1 LFC just in front of me here. I think it might have been Franklish, if I'm not mistaken there. But down in towards T1, he runs very deep there. We should theoretically therefore be able to inherit the lead of the Malaysian Grand Prix, and it has been a very long time, if I'm not mistaken, since I've led in this season. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually Baku where the famous, well, I say unfortunately, I actually bottled it in that Grand Prix as well. They bottled the lead on the very last lap, so a little bit frustrated with that. End of lap 15 though, we do dive it in for a 1 and only pit stop of the Grand Prix. Unfortunately, with the way the sort of the race worked out, it basically meant that the first sort of 6 to 8 laps, I was on the front foot, and then obviously everyone else, they sort of clocked on the harder tyres were the way to go there, which unfortunately meant that I lost out on a huge amount of time, basically right through to the very end of the Grand Prix, checking to see what tyres everyone was on, and then obviously completely forgetting that I've got manual control of my pit box as well. So not really the ideal thing to happen there, but yeah, by the end of the Grand Prix, that was the last thing that happened. We came out in P7, we were in P7 right through to the very end. ING green _ flag has won the Grand Prix there, so credits to him, absolutely fantastic driver. Not too sure if he's on the roster this season, so we might have to really sort of look into that one. If I'm not mistaken, it was P1R Brown that won his 4th race in a row in this season there, so props to him. Especially with Sam's disconnect, it is really open up right at the top of the driver standings in this championship there. But yeah, that therefore is the end of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Quite possibly the most broken online race you'll see on this game there. You can see no names for absolutely anyone by the end, but if I'm not mistaken, P1R Brown did win the Renaults alongside him. Gorshkrab did very well for P4. LGS 5th, Midget 6th, myself 7th, Bobbert and Herschel 8th and 9th, with Sam F1 LFC disconnecting, Coldhead DNFing, Diehard, as I said, DNFing as well as CJ right at the very bottom of the field there. But thank you all so much for watching. If by any chance someone from Codemasters has watched this video, if there's any more footage you need from this, I'm happy to try and send it to you. You know, if you hit me up on Twitter or anything like that. You know, if you want anything more about what, yeah, probably one of the most broken races I've seen on this game. But as I said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time for what should be the Singapore Grand Prix.